The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello and welcome to the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. It's good to be back, and it's good to be welcoming in JC DeLass. You haven't seen you in a while. Black on black is very strong.
That's what I'm all about. It's very slimming. Very slimming. That's what I'm about.
Paul Gotham here with us, PickandSplinters.com. And of course, Pat Duffy co-hosting. And what are you wearing today?
Harlem Globetrotters jersey, right? When you want to feel like a winner, you wear the jersey of the winningest franchise in the history of professional sports.
And you feel like being a winner.
Well, I was.
It's good to be back. Look, JC, you seem to have done a lot of baseball. We're coming off an all-star game. There are 25 strikeouts and 10 home runs. It's very typical of what's happening. Do you like the game as much as you used to?
Well, what do they say? Chicks dig the long ball, and I guess I kind of do also. I mean, but I agree with you. It's not the same game, even just from 5 years ago. Guys are throwing harder. Hitters are striking out a whole lot more because they're trying to pull everything. I mean, look how many teams are using the shift now, and how many players can't seem to beat the shift because they're all trying to hit home runs. I thought the All-Star game was a perfect example of where baseball is right now. Guys are just swinging hard, and if they make contact, it's going out. And if they don't, they take their strikeout. They're going to come back up. They're going to still have 3 more shots in the game, 4 at-bats, 1 home run. That's all they're looking for.
I heard Rob Manfred say something interesting. I thought one of the interviews he did on All-Star Game Week, where he was talking about, the players aren't trying to beat the shift by hitting the other way. They're trying to beat the shift by hitting over it. Right. And that's the motivation of this change.
Well, and when you look at that, that plays into what JC is saying, this whole idea of just swing as hard as you can and hope for the best after that. And it's at some point, we're going to get back to where putting the ball in play is going to win a World Series, and then hopefully that trend will kick back around.
Like Kansas City.
Like Kansas City.
They mark Kansas City as the last great champion that way. These guys are baseball guys, Pat. But if baseball is going to succeed and continue to grow, it's got to appeal to more guys like you.
Well, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. Like, I find myself watching less baseball because it's all feast or famine, right? There is no actual game to watch anymore. I didn't watch a minute of the All-Star game earlier this week for the first time in my entire life because I knew, like, now it's going to be multiplied times 100 because it's just a bunch of guys out there having fun. This idea that you needed home runs to succeed back in the mid-90s to mid-2000s, they were right. But these guys are really good professional athletes, and you have the smartest minds in baseball there trying to figure out ways to game the system. So, like you said, I don't need to put the ball in play to hit around the shift. I can hit it over them, and playing the percentages, well, now there's a pretty good chance I'm going to score at least once out of every 2 games with my 4 at-bats each game. I don't like it. It's like watching a shooting gallery, right? It's like watching a guy go out and fire at ducks. Why is that fun?
But who's the best teams right now? Yankees, Red Sox, Houston, all right? All with big home run hitters, especially the Yankees. I mean, Aaron Judge, Stan, Red Sox, J.D. Martinez, one of the best hitters in the game. Astros, they had 2 guys hit home runs in the 10th inning to win the All-Star game. But those are the 3 best teams, so there's a case that can be made that as much as we may not like what they're doing, it's working for
I think Boston breaks that mold a little bit, though, because they've got base runners, they've got guys that are hitting for average. I mean, they're doing some old-style stuff. There's still a place for that, don't you think?
Well, not only that, speaking of the Red Sox, that outfield defense takes away at least a run every night, whether it's Betts in right field, whether it's Jackie Bradley, that throw he had about a month ago to home plate, and Benintendi is playing the Green Monster as well as Carl Yastrzemski ever played it. So there's more to the Red Sox than the home runs. They're playing great defense, and they do move base runners.
When it comes down to the Red Wings, too, I was at a game last week. I think it was 13-9. They won it, something like that. There was a 13-run inning. The Wings got 8 runs. The other team got 5. There were 4 home runs, like 4 pitching changes, 59-minute inning. And I came away thinking, well, that should have been fun. I hated it. It was like I was tired getting out of there. I said, that has to be avoided somehow.
That
You know?
could be an age thing on your part, too.
Well, maybe.
No offense. I say that as a friend.
You mean you're getting tired?
Yeah.
I know, Michael. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We'll talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse, and this portion is brought to you by Connors and Ferris. We talk Buffalo Bills are going to be in town this week.
Yep.
The McCoy thing. Is this what's going to happen?
You know, a very bizarre thing has been happening on social media because, you know, it's an accusation, and it's really not even a real accusation. He's not facing any charges yet. Initially, he was guilty of what happened, and everybody agreed that he probably had something to do with it. Then a story came out where his girlfriend wasn't now sure if he would have been a part of it. So then all of a sudden, it went completely the opposite way. Well, this shows that he's vindicated. It doesn't. Like, there is no solid, concrete evidence either way as to whether or not he participated in this horrible, horrible thing that happened.
This is strange.
But I don't know why all of a sudden everyone has decided this is going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. Listen, you have a guy coming to training camp that may have been a part of something heinous, right? And it's very hard for me as a football fan, especially with two daughters, for me to go out there. I have my Bill season tickets, right? I've been thinking about this for the last 2 weeks. It's possible that we find out information during training camp, during the season, or the NFL conducts an investigation and they find something where, what am I going to do? Not cheer when LeSean McCoy breaks off a run knowing that this is hanging over my head? I mean, I'm paying money to support this guy. I was a fan of this guy. I still am. He's not guilty. It's very confusing. I don't know what to do.
You root for the cloth. I mean, right? Everyone always says they embrace these guys.
But he's wearing that cloth. Like, this is the first time with an active player and the Buffalo Bills that I'm at a crossroads of, like, okay, as a father, I should be doing this. As a husband, I should be thinking this. As a Bills fan, I feel disloyal. I don't know what to do, Bill.
And they're all just accusations.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think we know.
Not even
yet.
accusations.
We don't know where this is going. My fear is we're going to find out more, and it won't be good. This doesn't look good on the surface right now anyway. And if I was a betting man, I'm really nervous about McCoy even being in uniform for week 1. I'm not sure. It's too early to say, I know, but based on the optics of how this is playing out and knowing how hard the NFL is coming down on anybody who's even accused of these kind of things, I wonder if McCoy will even be on the field week 1.
Can we really expect McCoy to play well with all this weighing over him for the season? And if so, looking at it just from a strategical point, do you pull him out of the lineup and move forward from there?
Or playing at all. I mean, Mike Catalano usually sits in the seat. Was on the radio this week, your station, and he made the comment that if this stuff kind of goes the way it's headed, and McCoy is in jeopardy, he thinks the Bills might cut him.
They might be forced to, right?
Well,
the personal conduct policy, will they even have a choice?
All right, well, I mean, I think if they were going to do it based on principle, they would have done it by now. You have to look at it this way, and if we take the accusations out and look at cold, hard football, based on what McCoy's going to make at the end of, or for next season, it's one of those Doug Whaley specials. Everything was backloaded. So this is probably your last season with McCoy in a Bills uniform anyway. Then you look at the expectations of the team. Is this team in a position to compete for anything? If no, is the PR black eye that could last a decade? The Ravens are still dealing with the fallout of what happened with Ray Rice and Ray Lewis. Is it worth putting him in any uniform if there's still a cloud over his head when you're going to have a season that isn't going to be successful based on what you have?
And the Kim Pegula dynamic.
Right. And if you want to go strictly on a football standpoint, okay, take everything else out. In football standpoint, without McCoy, this team is going nowhere. It may not be going anywhere with him anyway, but without McCoy, 3-4 wins. I mean, he means that much to that offense.
Then you can get that franchise quarterback you need next year.
Again.
This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Thanks to Connors and Ferris. We'll be back. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box. We are presented by the Genesee Brew House. So, like it or not, the World Cup is over. What do you think?
At the risk of Americanizing an international event that doesn't need it, sitting in the press box between the Lancers games there, and I floated out the question, who had this Final Four when we got there? France, Croatia, Belgium, England. And the only answer I got was, well, I picked France to win it all. And I think that spoke volumes about the fact that we are a country that likes to see the unexpected happen. And when you look at the World Cup event there, I thought it was great. And you go more Sweet 16 on. You only had 4 games, I think, that went to penalty kicks, right? 4 of the games, and we all don't like those penalty kicks. And so that was great about it. Mbappe. I am now a fan of his, and I'll be following his league play in Champions League. That's great stuff.
I love the World Cup. And 2 things that came out of it for me. I want to be able to just do this now, from now on, whenever I have a question about anything, because that's what the referee, that's the new, go to the video assisted replay. So when my wife says something to me about, did you take out the garbage, do my little thing there. And also, Putin apparently has got great connections on umbrellas because he was the only guy who could find an umbrella in a rainstorm in Russia. Apparently they couldn't find another umbrella for anybody. I loved it. I thought it was very competitive, very interesting, plenty of goals. It wasn't what you would call the quote-unquote boring soccer, the 0-0, 1-0 stuff. I thought it was great. And the only thing it missed was the Americans, which hopefully will fix that in 4 years.
Did you like the replay? Because that was a critical goal in that
right, and I did enjoy it because soccer is so very specific with the rules, but with the replay, I thought more times than not they got it right, and they were able to make the call that needed to be made. I was good with it. I thought the World Cup was a blast this year. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. I think it speaks volumes for the event and the fact that the United States wasn't there, and we did. We still watched. I watched that final game start to finish. Yeah. Like it or not, Terrell Owens at 44 wants to make a comeback in the CFL.
Man, I love Terrell Owens so much. It's taken me time for me to come around on Terrell Owens. But one, I love the fact that he's not going to Canton to do this whole NFL thing because of the way the NFL and the reporters treated him his entire career. Don't you make that face at me. Don't you make that face.
No, I was trying to think, did I say Terrell or Terrell?
It doesn't matter. Either way. Well, be careful because he may not come on the press box if you say it wrong. 2, this is going to be great. You're going to have a guy going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame that's still actively playing. Has that ever happened in the history of professional football? And let's be honest, man. He ran a video where he still ran a sub 4.5 40-yard dash at 44 years old. The guy is built like a tank. I find it hard to believe that there isn't an NFL team with the way that the receiving corps have been specialized in the NFL that couldn't use someone like Terrell Owens as a third down dragger across the middle receiver. Just that body, man. He could play as a tight end legitimately at his age. He's as fast as he used to be. I will watch Johnny Manziel to Terrell Owens Hamilton Tiger Cats game every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night on CBC's Thursday Night Football. It's going to be awesome. I'm watching this.
If either one of them winds up playing. Yeah, he's only 3 years older than Tom Brady.
Well, and certainly that gives the rest of us old guys hope, I guess, right?
Speak
In
for
some
yourself,
strange way.
This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next.
Here is the MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
As a child, I was immature, and I, obviously said some things that were inexcusable. That doesn't reflect on who I am as a person today, and that's just what it is.
Does it reflect your beliefs, Josh?
No, not at all.
How did they live this long? How did they stay there this long?
I mean, no deletes. Obviously, when you're a kid, you just tweet what's on your mind, and that's what's on.
Bold meets sweet. With Dunkin's new brown sugar cold brew. Sweetly balanced with brown sugar.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Paul, why don't you start us off?
Sometimes the opening act is better than what you paid for. You just got to realize it with time. Such was the case in the Wimbledon semifinals when Kevin Anderson and John Isner decided to take on a 6+ hour match. Fans grew impatient and actually asked them at one point to stop playing and to finish out their match so that they could see Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic play. I get it. Who wouldn't want to watch Nadal and Djokovic? But here's the thing. Isner and Anderson played a match that included a 5th set tiebreaker that went 50 games. Not 50 points, 50 games. That's 2 competitors laying it all out. Where can I sign up for matches that go that long? Let me know, because I'll sign up for it every time.
The 6 hours isn't the strength of that, though.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed because you had 2. I lost track of time. I thought it was great.
I can't remember the last time I did anything for 6 hours. Like my job I do for like 3.5 tops. Seriously. Bills camp starts this week at St. John Fisher College. The break room on WCMF will be hanging out there. And the thing that is not getting nearly enough play, the Buffalo Bills don't have a starting quarterback. In fact, we don't have any clue as to who the Buffalo Bills starting quarterback would be. How weird is it that of all of the years, because every year the discussion is who's going to be the starting quarterback in Buffalo. Training camp, we're going to talk about this stuff. Nobody's really talking about it at this point because you have a guy in Nate Peterman who I think most Bills fans are done with. They want to move on from, but the coaching staff seems to be in love with this guy. He has a legitimate chance to start over free agent A.J. McCarron, who we all assume was going to be the starting quarterback, and then minicamp started and he kind of fell to the wayside, and now there's whispers about could he even make this team. Then you have, Allen, the star future quarterback of this Buffalo Bills team that we assumed was going to be sitting the bench to get ready. That's what we were told was going to happen. But now all of a sudden has been thrust in a position to be starting opening day. This is the most exciting quarterback scenario maybe in the last 15 years at St. John Fisher for the Buffalo Bills. Why am I the only one talking about it right now?
Well, we do it every week here.
Well, I'm just, but the DNC or the Buffalo News or whatever, you remember for years, Flutie and Johnson and Craig Nall. There was a whole week of Craig Nall discussion. And now we're just going to be like, we'll see what happens.
So when do you think this clarifies itself? How deep into training camp is it going to be before, under training camp, but the exhibition season, before we actually know who they're going to start?
I think that the start of the 3rd preseason game will give you a huge tell as to who your starting quarterback is going to be.
It's going to be fun.
It's happened again. A professional athlete found out the internet is a dangerous place. Josh Hader is a relief pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. He was in the All-Star game, and he gave up 3 runs in the All-Star game, and that wasn't anywhere near the worst part of his day, because during the game, the internet trolls went to work and pulled up tweets that he had published 7 years ago when he was 17 years old, mind you, that were pretty bad. N-word, anti-gay, ridiculously horrible stuff. His excuse, hey, I was 17, I wasn't that smart back then. My comment to the professional athletes is you're not very smart right now if you're throwing stuff out there on the internet. As I tell my kids all the time, the internet, dangerous place, it never goes away, and professional athletes are never going to learn. And the other part of this, too, is maybe our president shouldn't be on Twitter so much, but that's a topic for an entirely different show and an entirely different time.
They won't let us talk about it.
Well, it's probably for good
besides,
reason.
and if your last name is Hater, don't you have to be a little extra careful?
Probably do, yes.
Very good. Thank you, JC. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse, and Unfinished Business was brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. And thanks, JC. It's good to have you back. Paul, as always.
Happy to be
Mr.
here.
Co-host.
You're welcome.
Bill's Camp. Enjoy it.
Come on, right? 90 degrees every day in a tent. Woo!
Thank you for joining us. See you next week with the Rochester Press Box.